Hello and welcome to Find Your Freedom, a podcast dedicated to helping you truly find freedom in all aspects of life. Join your hosts and their expert guests as they share practical tips and strategies for finding more freedom in your life. It's time to take control of your life and create the future you want. Let's find your freedom. Here are your hosts, Lenny the Boss and Omid Rad Investor.
Boom. Hey, man, we are back at Find Your Freedom and happy to be here. And this next guest is going to be absolutely amazing. But before that, we want to make sure that, here at Find Your Freedom, we always have something for you. We want to make sure that you have something that you need that can sit here and help you on your journey. So we got it easily downloadable for you. Just go to www.findyourfreedomrei.com/freedom kit. That's right. We have a freedom kit for you. Once again, go to findyourfreedomrei.com/freedom kit. Now check this out, right? This guy right here, all right, this is going to be a great interview. And outside of getting to know who Mark Simpson is, right, we're going to learn a lot about how we can get off of these popular platforms of Airbnb and VBRO, so I'm super excited because this guy, he successfully helped over, I'm going to say 2,000, but right now it might be 5,000 or 10,000 people, right now to stop relying on one source of income. So with that being said, we're going to jump right into it. Mark Simpson, what's up, brother? How you feeling, man?
What an intro. Thank you very much. I don't know how his episode's now going to live up to that intro, but yeah, no, appreciate it. I'm a big fan. I've been tuning into the podcast. I got to hear a little tidbit behind the scenes, a little behind the scenes knowledge, so I'm happy. So, yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready for the boom.
There you go. Boom, boom, boom. Hey, man, listen, before we jump off, because I'm super excited for this myself, just let you know I got a pen, I got a pad, because I'm ready to take notes. Can you just give the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Wow. Just as that happens, the Amazon goes out. Yeah, okay. So a little bit about me. So basically, as you can tell from the accent, I'm across the pond. I'm in the UK. I grew up in a little town called Scarborough. For those who don't know Scarborough, if you've ever heard a Simon and Garfunkel song, you go into Scarborough Fair, that's pretty much about my hometown. It's the second most traveled to destination in the UK, which for a lot of people, they're like, hang on a second, what about Manchester? What about Edinburgh? What about Liverpool? No, it's our little town, Scarborough. Very heavily touristy. And I grew up in a bed and breakfast, small hotel. And it was in the middle of the countryside. So just imagine farms, just imagine countryside, animals, Highland cows, pigs, you name it. That was me. And my parents turned a 200-acre farm into a farm stay bed and breakfast. And the thing about our touristy area of Scarborough is that 1 in every 3 houses is like hospitality in some way, shape, or form. It's either a hotel, guest house, short-term rental, whatever you want to call it. So very touristy. And I just grew up with people always in the house, right? I was just so used to always somebody being there, to the point of where I would go play at a friend's house and I'd be like asking where everybody was because there's just nobody there. Like, what's this peace and quiet? So I grew up in that very hospitable environment. Got to like 16, 17, 18, and I wanted to travel. I wanted to escape my little village. I wanted to escape my little town. And I really wanted to become a soccer player. But there's one problem. I was crap at playing soccer. So I started coaching, right? I started coaching, got my badges, got my education in that. And I had an amazing opportunity in 2002 to go to America to go coach soccer. And the way it worked, I had a H1 visa. So I get to go over for 5 months and then come back to the UK for 7 months. And every time I'd go to America, and I went for years, every time I went, I got to go to another area. So I'd say first year I was based in Tennessee. So based in Memphis, and I'd go to, Alabama, Arkansas, Louisiana. I'd go North Carolina, South Carolina, a bit of Florida, just do all of that. Great. Next year, I'd go to, base was in San Diego. So Southern Cali, North Cali, you got to Arizona. And I just had the amazing experience of traveling, doing soccer coaching. I learned so many things. And I got to about 2009 and I was like, there's not like a full-time career for me in this, right? I couldn't get my visas or anything because of my playing background, right? I didn't have a playing background. So that's why I came back to the UK, moved down to London, fell into sales and marketing. Worked for a little company that you may have heard called Yelp. They're the huge review website. Learned everything that I needed to know there about Facebook, social media, word of mouth advertising, all of that. And then in 2011, 2012, me and my wife and my eldest, we moved back to the family business. My parents had this business for 25 years at this point.
Oh, wow.
They had 25 years of offline everything. So there was no website. There was no booking.com. There was no nothing. So my job was to take everything offline and put it online. And I just basically put all of that experience that I learned in London into the business. And in 18 months, we'd managed to basically turn this offline business to a juggernaut online. We just tapped into the word of mouth referrals and all that cool stuff. And we got into the top 3 of TripAdvisor, which was really big.
Wow.
We were able to grow our Facebook page to like the #1 followed social media page in the area, which was
I
huge.
get a boom.
Yeah, right. So it's cool. It's big. And this is a tiny farm in the middle of nowhere. We're winning awards and all that cool stuff. And then in 2016, I read a book by Tim Ferriss called The 4-Hour Workweek, which changed everything. I realized that we didn't have to do everything ourselves. There's this thing called outsourcing and delegation and virtual assistants and all that cool stuff. Pretty much sacked myself from the business by hiring people to replace me. And then with that spare time, I started to go to networking meetings in our town. At those meetings, that's where I pretty much met other hosts, bed and breakfast hosts, hotel hosts, short-term rental hosts. And it was at these meetings where I realized that there was no support for hosts in our area when it came to training, when it comes to marketing, because there's no budget. And, I had that little brainwave, that little light bulb moment. Well, I'll just start a Facebook group. So I created a group called the Hospitality Community. It's still live to the day. Anybody can come and join. It's on Facebook. It's thriving. And we've got people from all over the world, but it just started for Scarborough and Whitby. We started for like 10 hosts, and 10 hosts were in there. And every day I just showed up and gave advice, tips, whatever it would be. And word of mouth spread. So I noticed that people from Scotland were joining, and France and Australia and America and Canada. And before I knew it, we had 1,000 members all from over the world. And they were all wanting to learn about this thing called, direct booking. And the day it turned into a business was when my inbox was literally flooded with people asking the same questions. Because I would pop in and just give advice, but then people would want questions from me. And I was like, Laura, I'm getting nothing done here. So Laura, my wife, said, well, why don't you just record yourself doing the things that you were doing and put it into like a course? And that's what I did. And that was 2017. And it's ballooned from there, to be honest. It's now gone on from being 5 people to 10 people to, like you say, now thousands of people. And we've pivoted, we've changed, we've brought things in. We started doing website designs. And it's got to the point now where since COVID, funny enough, it's just gone even further, because now so many hosts are trying to go, well, I can't just put my whole house on the Airbnb land. I got to build my own brand. And, how do I do this? And, I'm very fortunate. I've published a couple of books. Now, Omid and I are about to work on a book together, which is cool. And podcast speaking, there we go, the Book Diary Playbook. And it's cool. And I'm really, 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 really fortunate. And like, it was never meant to be this thing that was like a worldwide brand, but here we are. And I love every single thing that I do every single day. And, it's brought the freedom to my life to be able to do all these cool things. So I'm excited to be on here and chat about it and break it down. So fire away. Thank you for having me.
No, that's super awesome. I think if the listeners aren't off from your intro, I mean, I think the way that I guess I connected with you personally was you're on stage last year at the SCR Summit, and you brought out some shots, and that spoke my language. So
Yeah.
I think that kind of like sparked my interest of like, who is this guy? I've never seen anybody take shots on stage. So I started following you, and I got my Boost League cup right here. I got to represent, but I think hearing your story, because I think everything is a stepping stone, like, all your experiences and how they kind of influence you, and hearing how you went from like, being kind of in this environment of community, and how you've been able to build so many different communities over time. And then you kind of compound that with like the 4-hour work week, and then how you're able to kind of help kind of grow the business and make it like a, global enterprise. So maybe like talk a little bit about like the 4-hour work week. So let's say somebody's just getting started, they have a lot of similar experiences to you that, they relate. And now they're kind of in a stage where they're like, they're trying to pivot or transition into kind of growing a business, what are your recommendations, or like what are the takeaways, I guess, from that particularly?
Yeah, well, the tricky thing is when you're getting started is that you don't know what you don't know, right? And it's the same with everything in life. And I mean, books are a massive part of my education, but what's really important is that, and Alex Hormozy touched about this recently, is that you can't read a book before doing something. As in, what I mean by that is that you got to actually start doing it. And then you read the book and then you can go, oh, well, that's what I was doing wrong. And there's a couple of books that I can come back to talk about this. And I think everybody can relate, because everyone here probably listen to this has got a business in some way, shape or form. It may not be hospitality, it may be doing whatever, but you start a business, you start doing all of the things because you just don't know any and you haven't got the funds to hire. But there's definitely free books. 4-Hour Workweek was a great one. Possibly you could argue it's maybe a little bit out of date now. So I would instead go Clockwork by Mike Michalowicz, who is going to be in Nashville at SDR World 2023. So by the time this comes out, it's been and happening. He's keynoting, and I'm the biggest Mike Michalowicz fanboy. I'm so looking forward to hanging out with him and getting a selfie. And then you've got Who Not How. Who Not How. Two fantastic books. Yeah, so 2 books, fantastic. And they really do help change the mindset on so many things. And once you read them, you realize that, number one, the power of hiring and outsourcing. But number 2, Clockwork gives you an actual roadmap on how to do it, because anybody can outsource. Anybody right now can go to Upwork, can go to onlinejobs.ph, can type in, if we're going to go down the hospitality route, type in VA for Airbnb or whatever, VA for short-term rentals, and there'll be thousands of people that pop up. And then you can hire one of those 1,000 people and they'll probably quit the next week because you haven't got your systems and structure and stuff in place that will enable them to know what's up here, because this is the problem. And this is, so if you speak to anybody who goes, oh yeah, I tried to outsource, but it was rubbish. I hired somebody in the Philippines, but they disappeared after a week, and they'll go, it just doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work because of you, because of the systems and the structure, and you didn't lay it out properly. So Clockwork for me was amazing. Who Not How is getting into the mindset of why. And there's a couple of examples you can think of in the book right now, why. And then the Clockwork books lays out the foundations. I know, because I gift this book to so many people. Once you've read those 2 books, it changes everything. And then you can easily then go down the process of properly hiring somebody. And that brings you to freedom.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Clockwork, I just wrote it down, so I'm going to get that one. Who Not How, big fan of it. Dan Sullivan. It was like one of those things you knew, but he told you. If that makes sense.
That's 100% the best reviewing. It's everything that you knew, but he told it.
He just told you.
He's good. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And I love, the way that you just said that, because it's kind of unconventional, meaning in the manner of, you said, hey, rather than reading a book first, because we always told, get some education, take your education, apply your education. You're saying, hey, jump into the mix, right? Get a feel about what's going on, and then go back and get the books to sit here and start putting those pieces together. So you mentioned a lot, and there's a lot here to unpack because you have a really great story. So you went from growing up in the business, right, to wanting to get out the business because you had dreams of being a soccer player. You had, then you became a soccer coach, right? Did all this travel, and then you came back to the business. Now, one of the things that you did mention, you slid in there, you mentioned, your wife. So I guess tell us a little bit about your family interaction and how, your wife plays a part in ensuring that, you live out the dreams that you're looking to live out.
No, yeah, very, very lucky. And it's weird how things happen, especially with trying to get out of the industry and living it and being in it for so long. And, you got PTSD of changing so many bunk beds and, and all the guest questions and all that thing. But then it brings you back. It drags you back. It's like this magnet that just sucks you back in. And, there's been so many random things that have happened throughout my life that it's pivotal moments, really, with crossroads you can go that end up bringing you back to it. And yeah, Laura, my wife, if it wasn't for her, it wouldn't be anywhere near the levels of success that we're currently having and freedom we're having, because she's been there in every single step of the way. She's the one who came up with the name Boostly. I was faffing around on so many different names of Boost Hospitality and all those things, and just said, just call it Boostly. Stop messing around. Just call it that. I went in. She's always been there, and we've got 4 kids now. We've got Alfie, who's 10, Charlie, who's 7, Frankie, who's 4, and little baby Rosie, who's just a couple of months old. And it was definitely came to a pinpoint where like she's all but like entrepreneur as well. Like she's had many businesses and done loads of different things, but it's got to a point where it was like, right, do I sacrifice what I'm doing to let him go and see what this becomes? And yeah, she did that. And, I will always be grateful for that. And we've definitely like got each other's backs. And the whole reason why we did all of this is so that we've got our 4 kids. And it was 2 at the time when I started it, that we could travel, we could be free, we could do what we want. We weren't shackled to like we had to be here to do X, Y, and Z. And yeah, I'm very fortunate that has been the end result of
it. I think I love that. I think when you think about any sort of journey, you got to have like your spouse on board and have those sort of discussions. And I think that, there's definitely a lot of couples that struggle with that. And especially when you throw in kids in the mix, and then there's like, how do you prioritize like the balance, and what is balance, and everybody's balance is so different, and even priorities. And, one thing I like about what you do is like the traveling piece. So like talk about that a little bit more, and how you're able to like run a business and kind of incorporate traveling, because I think sometimes that gets sacrificed.
Massively. So, and I definitely did this wrong at the start, right? So 2015, 2016, 2017, when Boostly like started going, when we first got going, again, it was me trying to do everything at Boostly. Obviously the granary was outsourced to the point that was fine, but with Boostly, because again, startup, I'm thinking I've got to do all these things myself, yada. So I was just me, and I had 3 paying clients. When I first started Boostly, it was a one-on-one thing. So I was working for somebody and I would just do everything. And I thought, you know what? I'm ready to travel with this. So me and my wife, we sold our house. We had like a nice little chunk at the end, and that was going to be the money that we spent while away. We went away for 6 months. We went to Thailand, Cambodia. We went to Bali for a bit, India for a bit. When I got back after 6 months, all of my clients were like, where were you? None of them renewed, right? And I was like, oh, no, I've now got to go all over again. So I just changed. And I was like, right, well, the one-to-one and the traveling doesn't work, right? So that's when I pivoted to the one-to-many. That was when it was a case of, people were, even though I was traveling, I was still doing the work and yada, but it didn't work for like the one-on-one. And that's when I sort of had the idea, okay, so one-to-many works, because then it's a coaching program. They just jump in, and it's a vault of information that can go in at any time. And I learned the lesson. That was great, right? So 2017, 2018, we're back in the UK for a little bit. And then Frankie was born. And then at the end of 2018, I had an amazing opportunity to go to Bali for 6 months and work one-on-one at a resort in Bali. Again, doing their marketing, and the whole family got to go, which was fantastic. And it was during that point that I brought on our first team member, our first virtual team member for Boostly, because we'd started doing website design. And every lesson that we learned in 2017, we then applied and got better in 2019. So when we left this time, it wasn't so much dependent on me being online every day. I was still, I'd say, 70% in the business at this point, instead of being 100% in 2017. So even though I had let go of a little bit, there's still some help and support. But again, it was still very heavily reliant on me. And so by the end of 2019, about June 2019, when we came back, I'll never forget this day. So we've decided to fly we're in Kuala Lumpur at the point, and we're going to fly and spend about 2 months, 3 months in Bulgaria. We'd just done a long flight, and I stupidly booked a Zoom call, like a Zoom training membership thing, on the day of arrival in Bulgaria. And our apartment that we're staying at didn't have any Wi-Fi. So I was running around this little town in Bulgaria looking for Wi-Fi. I jumped into a hotel, sat in their like communal area. And it's like 9 o'clock at night. And I've been traveling all day, a few days. I fell asleep on the Zoom call. I literally fell asleep coaching. I fell asleep coaching. Right? That's awesome. That's the most embarrassing thing ever. Thank God it wasn't online, like as in like streaming. It was just in a little private whatever Zoom group. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? So
I love it.
It definitely taught me to like know when to stop, when to like let the body talk and whatnot. So when you're traveling and all that stuff. And I definitely learned a lesson then. But as the company sort of grew again, the next stage, we started to hire more people. We started to bring in more support staff. We started to bring in more developers, more builders, so the web design company could grow. And then we started to we went to Spain for a couple of years, and we've just come back. And the big thing is that we wanted to do it while our kids were young, because now Alfie's getting to 10, and a year ago he couldn't read or write in English, and he couldn't read or write in Spanish. And we we wanted him to come back so we could have at least a couple of years of education here in primary school, junior school, before going into like the bigger school. And we never ever wanted to have kids to like limit our travel. We wanted to give them all the experiences, and we've been able to do so. And now we've got the base in the UK. We're definitely going to keep traveling, but obviously it's limited as such so we don't get in the way of our education. But it's a massive part. And now, fortunately, with Boostly, checking out those books, bringing in more and more and more. I do about 5% of the day-to-day for Boostly, the day-to-day of Boostly. I've got an amazing people. We've got about 40 members of our team around the world now who do pretty much everything. And I'm always, every 3 months, looking at part of the business that I shouldn't be doing. Like, what is the bottleneck? There's a thing that I've got on my phone, and I come to it every single week. And it's like where I review my week and look at what my goals are. And the thing at the very top, there's 2 things. Number one, would my 80-year-old self be proud of who I am now? So look back on that. And then number 2 is, what would I do? And this is totally hypothetical because it's never going to happen. But what would I do if a massive Fortune 100 company just came and bought Boostly? What would they do to Boostly? Like, what would they do to fix what they bought, etc. behind the scenes? And I'm always looking at that, and you can apply it to any business, even if you're a startup. So it's like, what would they do to you and your business? As in, would they get rid of this? Would they stop doing that? And I'm always thinking that every single week when we're setting our goals or the things that we've got to have in place. And I've just been doing that now for like 4 or 5 years. And in my iPhone notes, they've got 5 years of documentation, which is awesome. So I can look back at it in maybe 5 years' time and go, okay, wow. And the thing is, another important thing is, I'm always looking back 5 years or a year or 2 years. And I always want to be embarrassed of what I was doing a year ago or 5 years ago in terms of the offer I was putting out or the business that we had. Because if you do that, that means you're growing. It means you're improved. If you look back and go, oh, I'm doing exactly the same thing I was doing a year ago, that means that you've stagnated. You've gone, you've done nothing in the last year. But if you're always looking back and going, wow, I can't believe I was doing that last year. I can't believe that was the system. I can't believe that's how we did something. And we've just literally had it this week. We've literally had it today, where we had something happen. We had some malware get into our website. It shut the whole thing down. But we're able to spot that and make sure that we've got it fixed within an hour. Where if it happened a year ago, we'd have been messed up for a week trying to like chase our tails, basically. So it's good. Like today was like a proud moment for me and the team, and I've messaged everybody on WhatsApp to say that, because if that happened a year ago, we'd have been screwed. And last week something major happened, but we're able to learn from what's happened over the last couple of years and make sure that we've got the systems and the structures in place. And I put all of that back down to the Clockwork book and who knows how.
Oh, that's great. And I love it all. Everything you just said. But there's one thing I heard you say, and I want you to, give us a little bit on it. So I heard you say, because my mentor told me that you should work on your business every day, even if it's 5 minutes or if it's 5 to 10 hours. Every day, keep the momentum, work on your business, right? Now, you said something about being proactive, and you said you should do 30 minutes of new business every day. So what does that mean?
Well, if you're being proactive with your business as a new business every single day, then you're always taking your business forward. The worst thing that I see a hospitality owner does, especially when it gets to July or August, let's say in a tourist destination, or maybe if it's January in one of those desert locations or, ski locations, is they get really busy. And then they go, I can't do any new business because I'm really busy. But that's the best time to be doing it, because otherwise what happens is that, say you go flat on new business, and I'll talk about what new business could be. Say you go flat and it gets to the quieter time, or the shoulder season, as I like to call it, and you've got nothing coming in, right? Then you've got to then scrap your way to get back up. But being always doing new business is always better than the cure. So it's basically always better than the cure of trying to figure out why nothing's coming in. And new business could be anything. It could be sending an email to a potential new prospect. It could be posting in a Facebook group. It could be sending a message to a past guest. It could be doing X, Y, or Z, but it's just 30 minutes. And most people can easily fit it in. I think everybody can fit it in, really. And it's just 30 minutes a day. And it's just by doing that one little thing of being proactive, it just helps your business always be ticking over.
So you talked about how you went from like 100% in the business to then 70% and kind of like weaning off, and now you're kind of at that 5%. and it's taken a lot of time with systems. So when you're at that level at 5%, where are you spending your time? Like, how do you determine where is your time best spent? Because again, I see you everywhere. Like, you're in this Facebook group, you're in this podcast, so I'm like, how are you only 5% if you're everywhere? Like, so yeah, maybe like talk on that as far as like how you learn to like figure out what you specifically will like spend your time doing.
So number one, it's what do I enjoy? I absolutely love creating content. I absolutely love like helping. So the reason why you see me everywhere is because I don't have to do all of the back end stuff. So I don't have to answer support emails. I don't have to try and figure out the needle in the haystack, which is website coding and all those sort of things. It just means that I've got people. I don't have to deal with invoices or payroll. I don't have to deal with scheduling posts on all of the channels. I don't have to do the show notes. I don't have to do the transcription. I don't have to upload it to Megaphone. You know, we've got Will Slickers, Hospitality FM doing all of that. It's just like, I've got to figure out what's my 80-20, what's the 20% of my actions that will drive 80% of the results for Boostly and the members. I mean, my mission is to help 1 million hosts cut down on their over-reliance on Airbnb, right? That's my mission. So I can't be spending my time paying off invoices or dealing staff payroll. You know what I mean? I got to be available to do podcasts and go speak on events and, think of like, tune into other podcasts, get inspiration for what to talk about. I've got so many notes on here, like Mr. Beast. You know, he talks about how he's got thousands upon ideas of videos on his phone. I've got exactly the same. I've got so much content ideas. So when it comes to me, and this studio is set up, so it's always podcast ready or content ready to go. I literally just have to turn on the light here, turn on my fancy little light behind me. The camera's ready, the microphone's ready, and I can create like a 3, 4, 5, 10-minute video, and then it's literally good to go. I drop it in a Dropbox. I've got 3 video editors that can put it together. Depending on, I drop it into one of the 3 buckets on what needs to be. If it's going to be a short, a reel, a podcast, a long form, and then they can literally spin it around to me in a couple of hours. So I spend my 5% of the time doing the things that I enjoy and that will take the business forward. And obviously, the more that I come on podcasts, the more I speak on stage, X, Y, and Z, then it's driving more leads to our sales team. It's driving more calls for Luis. We all know it's like to get in contact with, and I know it's like
good hire, by the way.
He's amazing. He's amazing, and it's just driving the business forward to getting more people aware of Boostly. That is literally all I'm doing, and that's what I love doing. That's my 5%.
That's cool. That's really cool. So let's jump into something a little different, but kind of keeping this thing going, right? So obviously, when it comes to the short-term rental industry, the first thing everybody do is they want to sit here and run to Airbnb, and they're going to run to VBRO because in their mind, they believe that is where all the traffic is coming from, right? And I also heard you mention, based off the algorithm, right, that price and reviews and availability is what Airbnb, is using these days. So my question to you, and I think you can talk about, what you provide as well, is, what other options do we have, as a short-term rental, host? And if you can kind of give us a little bit about your company and how you can help with that.
So, I mean, we are very fortunate in this industry, and I've said this a while. So the big misconception about me, what I talk about, is that I'm trying to get you to go cold turkey on Airbnb, VRBO, and Booking.com. That is not the case. We have to use them for our marketing. We have to, make them work for us, not the other way around, right? And the blessing and the curse is this: if I am just starting up in this industry, right? Say that I've got properties. Say I've got 4 or 5 properties that are long-term lets, and I want to go on this short-term rental cash cow that I see sitting over here looks really appealable, right? So you go and take one of those properties that are long-term, tenants go out, and you're going to put it on a short-term rental, right? And Airbnb are phenomenal at this. Their marketing, their branding, their positioning, it makes it sound so easy to get started. You come and take a couple of pictures, list it on this site, be live within a day, no drama. And it is good. And depends on where you are, depends on your market, depends on the time of the year. You could pretty much be guaranteed to have revenue from just 5 minutes of work on the back end, right, on Airbnb. And that is the power of that platform. It's a blessing. There's no other industry that I know that you can go and list your business on a website and be guaranteed to get revenue, like website design, right? That's what we predominantly do. There's no website that I can go and list Boostly on and be pretty much be guaranteed revenue in a couple of days. It just doesn't work. Like, we are in new business, as in I have to literally drag the first 5 customers. I literally have to pick them up and drag them and say, hey, this is what I'm doing, right? I literally have to go into the cold real world. We don't need to do that in hospitality. It's a curse because it is so easy. You just go, oh, I don't need to do all that marketing stuff. I'll just let Airbnb deal with it. I'll just wait for the pings to come in. And then you can become lazy, you become complacent. The problem is when those bookings don't happen. Or the problem is when you get a crappy guest who leaves a crap review, and then all of a sudden that 5-star drops down to 4.2, and then you fall off the algorithm, fall off page 1. Or a guest complains to Airbnb, Airbnb sides with the host, with the guest naturally, and then they suspend your listing through further investigation, which means then no bookings, no reservations. You can't see anything for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. That's your revenue's taking a hit. And there's loads of other things that I've seen worse, where they've literally just deleted listings because they're going to, instead of human-based decisions, they're going to AI-based decisions, which obviously we're not ready for yet. And so the problem with that is that you're building your house on Airbnb's land, right? Now the cure is to make sure that from property 1, that you have the systems and the structures in place so that you are not building your house on Airbnb's land. You're just using them when you need them. Make them work for you and not the other way around. And that is all around, well, just being a proper business owner. You've got your own website. You've got your own database, which is MailChimp.com. You've got a property management software tool, otherwise known as PMS. And you've got those 3 things in place: list, website, and PMS. Got them 3 together. And then what you can do there is you can build off that foundation. This is exactly why I put the second book together last December, which is the Book Direct Blueprint, is because the playbook, as Omid showed kindly earlier, that's the playbook. That's 101 marketing tips. The blueprint is the foundation. So before you go and build your land, you need to have a solid foundation to have it on. And it really does just focus on website, PMS, and a database, a list, which is email marketing for what it's known as. So once you've done that, that is when you can then add in the connection to Airbnb. So instead of building everything on Airbnb and linking out to Vrbo, etc., you're starting it from your PMS, and then you link to Airbnb, then you link to Vrbo. But the other cool thing is you can set up payments. So Stripe or whatever is out there, right? And then then someone can come to you and go, hey, I would love to come and stay with you, right? How do I do this? No problem. I'll send you an invoice, you pay on Stripe, yada, yada, yada. And then you've got all the things like Superhog for the guest screening, insurance, yeah, all that cool stuff. But you need to, from property 1, have a property management software tool in place. And this goes against the grain of everybody else that's out there. Everybody else says, and I've heard them on Clubhouse, and I've interrupted, and I've heard them on podcasts, I've heard them on videos, and everything. They say you don't need a PMS until property 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, you do it at the start, because I speak to so many people, some of the biggest channels out there in terms of subscribers and etc. And they have built everything on Airbnb. So it's got to a point where there's such a spider's web going on. It's too hard to fix it. It really is hard to fix it. The best time to start is at property number 1, because what happens is this, right? They have their Airbnb property, right? They'll get property 1, property 2, property 3, and they go, right, I want to get on Vrbo. Instead of linking from your PMS to Vrbo, they link everything from Airbnb. So the iCal will link to Vrbo's iCal. And they're building it all on this Airbnb spiderweb, which is exactly what Airbnb want you to do. They want you to stay there, right? But again, if your Airbnb listing gets locked out, it's locked you out of everywhere. So you do it on your own land, your own website, your own database, and that's how you grow, because it just helps protect you so much.
So I think for a lot of investors, they get started, they get the PMS. Then I think one part is maybe they don't collect the email. So maybe can you talk about that as like how do you do that, and how do you build a CRM?
Yeah, definitely. Well, again, it's data, right? Data is the most valuable commodity that there is out there. It's why Airbnb don't share an email address with you from the guest, right? They could easily do, but they don't do. Again, I've said this so much over the last 6 months. We are still very lucky to get the phone number of Airbnb. It's only a matter of time till they stop sharing that, and they have all communication done on the app. I can't see it being well into 2024 when that will be the case. With Vrbo, you get the email, which is smart. But again, we don't do anything with it. So you've got to build a database, and then you've got to have something like a CRM, like MailChimp. It's free for the first 500 people. They keep changing the price and the rules. Even by the time this goes out, it's probably changed, but it's a free CRM to get started with. And what you can then do is you can plug all of your emails that you generate through, Google Forms is a free way to start. There's two options. Free is Google Forms. A paid version is called Stayfi, STAYFI.com. And what they do, the best way to describe Stayfi is last time you went into Starbucks or anywhere and you wanted to use their Wi-Fi, you got to give up the email address to use the Wi-Fi. Stayfi bring that software into vacation rentals, and it's really effective because not only are you getting the lead booker's email, you're getting the whole party's email. And I know, Omid, I know your group's using it, which is working really well. Chatted to Kellen, got an update on that. So yeah, it's working well. And that's the paid version. The free version is Google Forms. And I'm just setting this up for somebody that I'm helping, sort of mentoring behind the scenes for a YouTube documentary that we're filming this year. A free version is Google Forms. And you can do as a property one. And you set up a Google form, first name, last name, cell number, email address, check-in date. And, you ask a question like, why did you choose to stay with us, or are you coming for leisure or business, something like that. And you add that into the post booking message. The cool thing is about that is you go, hey, guest, thank you so much for making a booking with us. Just to confirm, your check-in date is the 1st of April. You're checking out on the 4th of April. To speed up your guest check-in process, please fill in this short form. Everybody's going to do it to speed up their guest check-in process. And it's easy to do. And then you've got your Google form here or Stayfi, and you can set up a Zapier, Zapier, that then connects straight into MailChimp, and it's automated and it's free and it's easy. And that's how you start building your list. You do that consistently and you will easily get at least 100 emails over the course of a couple of months. And then if you do it really well, like Stayfi well, you could have thousands. And everybody that I speak to, and I say this over and over again, and I don't know who created this quote, but it's fantastic. Social is how you grow. Email is how you profit. And it's
yes, sir. Amen.
Phrase, right? And it's something you should have always in your background. And the reason is for this. Let's just say, for example, your Airbnb account gets shut down. Let's just say, for example, you can no longer be visible on that platform, and you have to quickly let everybody know that you can still take a bookings, etc. The best way to do that is an email blast out. And people go, email's not effective anymore, yada, yada, yada. They're wrong. They are so wrong. For every $1 you invest into email, you get 42 back. I don't know any return of investments out there in terms of marketing that can even compete to that. The reason being is this. When you post something on Facebook, there is tons of noise. Right? When you post them on Facebook, and if you're even lucky enough for it to appear on somebody's feed, there's tons of noise. You've got adverts saying, look at this, look at this, look at that.
Yeah.
When you post something on Google, for example, and you've got a blog post, and if you're lucky enough to get ranked on the page 1 of Google, there's still a ton of noise. When you have a listing on Airbnb, if you're lucky enough to have somebody land on your listing, they're literally pointing you to other places saying, hey, you like this? Check out this, check out that, check out that. Same with Verbo, Booking.com, they're all the same, but with an email. If you can send an email and they open it, you've got that one-on-one communication with the reader. And as long as you put together a good email, then all you're doing is you're pointing them exactly on the click to action at the bottom, which is book, inquire, or whatever. And, writing an email, people will say is very hard. But now there's a beautiful little tool called ChatGPT. It makes it even easier. I've done so much training on ChatGPT this last 3 months. It is crazy. And I delving into it more, and I absolutely love and adore it. For us, for a website design agency, it is an absolute blessing, because one of the hardest things that we need to get from our clients in the whole website build process isn't the pictures, because you've all got beautiful pictures. It's the words to use.
Yeah.
So all we now have to say to our clients, listen, just give us the login or give us your Airbnb link, give us a login to your PMS, we'll do the rest. Because then what we do is we tap into our ChatGPT, our I call it a thought engine. So you've got search engines. It's not a search engine, it's a thought engine. It's your second brain. And we've got people in the Philippines building out websites, and they're amazing. They're fantastic. But when it comes to being the creative process, it's hard for somebody in the Philippines to do, where they're more script driven. They're more like projects and systems driven. This part of it now, we can tap into it so much, and they just use that process to speed it all up. And so, even there's no excuses now to ever not write an email. It's phenomenal. So
None whatsoever. It's funny that you talk about Chat GPT because just so happens this morning I was just on a call for 90 minutes with someone, maybe about 78 other people, and this guy just was thoroughly going through how to, they call it engineering prompts on, putting that in, Chat GPT. And, that's going to change the world, I believe, just on just some of the things that you can do. Now, I love this quote. Now, you sit here and you said, social help you grow and email help you profit. Now, going back to this email system and how you use, Stayify and Google Forms, are you concerned with any like kids that happens to, have to log in, right? And you're sitting here.
So Stayify has an option where you do a date of birth checker, and you can do like that. So it does filter out anybody sub 18 getting on the email list. Yeah, so it's got all that built in. Yeah, Stayify. And again, this is not my company. I'm not Stayify. Arthur of Stayify. I'm not an investor. It doesn't pay me affiliate fee. I just love the product. But they are very clever. They've got all the systems and things in place to prevent that from happening. But it's a really good question. It's one of our members asked them on a Zoom call that we did. So yeah, don't worry. They are good.
Awesome.
So speaking on that Chat GPT, it's funny is so Kellen, our operations person, she's been working on the website that you've been helping us with. So thank you so much for that. And we're pretty much just about finalizing it. And then they're like, hey, Omid, what do you think? And then I went on Chat GPT and I said, okay, so let's reword this. And then I, gave a little bit of direction to Chat GPT as far as what I wanted to have a more luxury feel, a more like disconnecting sort of feel. And rewrote it, and it was way better than I would have ever written it, and I'm super happy with it. I sent it to Kellen to submit it to your group, so it's kind of funny how we're just talking about that.
Well, the beautiful thing as well for us is that OpenAI, which has created ChatGPT and that whole group that basically creates anything AI generated, the one that Microsoft just sunk 10 billion is, they have literally just opened up their API. So we're now looking at how we can integrate it into our web build process to where you're on your Boostly website and there's a Chat GPT bot on the Boostly site. So you'd be able to just literally ask it the question directly on the site. So that's the cool sort of things of what we can do next. And I've seen some crazy things of what's happening next. And to sort of end the Chat GPT talk is that I can see a point in time in the next 12 to 14 months where Siri is going to get an improvement. Alexa, that's to my right, that's going to get an improvement. Google Home is getting a massive improvement because at the moment they look awful. If you try chatting to your Siri, it's like, it's worse than talking to my 3-year-old. I literally, I can talk down to my 3 or 4-year-old than I can from Siri. Apple, Amazon, Google are going to be watching that and making that improvement into these to the point of where you could go to your phone, and I guarantee this is going to be a case before the end of next year, and you'll be able to book out your full itinerary without going to Airbnb. I did a talk last week, and the title was ChatGPT will be the beginning of the end of Airbnb. And this is why it's really important now to start building your own brand, why it is important to have your own direct booking website, why it's so important to be having a pricing strategy where you're upselling the price from your direct booking site is like at least 30% more dearer to go on to Airbnb, Vrbo, etc. So it's 30% cheaper, because what will happen is your phone, your Siri, your Alexa, your Google Home will do a scan of the best prices, and it will go, the best price was booking direct, and I booked you direct. These are your details, this is your flight, everything. And that is what it will scrape to book for you. And that is I can see that happening. Because I can go on now and I can order something on Amazon, but it's only limited me to Amazon Alexa. I go, Alexa, order my coffee pods, and it will order my coffee pods, but it's just on Amazon. The upgrade will be where it can scan the whole web, everything, and it will get me the best option, and it will just plug in this new technology in.
So, hey, Mark, we can go on and on and on, and we'd love to have you back on if that's okay with you. But
anytime.
Until then, what does find your freedom means to you?
So find my freedom for me means that I can do something where I can do the school run twice a day. I do 99% of the school runs. So drop off and collection. I work, like I say, 5% of the time. That means I can be so present to the kids. And my biggest achievement is growing a 7-figure plus annual business and not having to sacrifice any time spending with the kids. Everything that me and Laura have done over the last sort of 5-7 years is always kids first. And I didn't want to be a dad that was never there. I didn't want to be somebody, but I grew up in a household where my dad's a farmer, And he would go out at 5 and I wouldn't see him. He'd go out from 5 to like 10 o'clock at night. He'd come in for like dinner and fall asleep, and that's literally it. It never took me to any games or anything because he was so obsessed with growing the business, which is fine because that's his generation. Work hard and all that stuff. I never wanted that to be the case with me and the boys. I'm so, and obviously now Rosie, and that's something that I'm very proud of, to be able to create something that has the freedom to be able to do that.
No, I love that, and I also want to like mention like your ability to travel and all that traveling you've done. I mean, I think as Americans we're very poorly traveled, and so like when you're talking about kind of the things you're doing, I think that's great, and I think that's super inspirational. So I love that. So where can we connect with you? I got the book, I got the cup, I got the website. Where else can I find you? Even though you're everywhere, where's like the best way to connect with you?
My favorite is Instagram. That's where it's the only app that I've got on my phone. I don't have any other apps on my phone. It's just Instagram.
Yeah.
And fun fact, if you see me posting anywhere bar Instagram, it's probably not me. Member of the team doing it. So
yeah,
Instagram is in the jam. So that's where you'll find me. So at Boostly UK. And Boostly is Boostly, but make sure you put the UK on the end because some bugger in America managed to grab that at Boostly. So it's at Boostly UK. And I'm gonna get them. Don't worry.
There you go. That's great. That's great. All right, man. So this is the best. Outside of learning everything about what you just shared with the listeners, it's a fun time to do the boom session, man. So so for all the listeners, you better be ready because before we started this, Mark already said the first thing he said was, "I'm ready for the boom," right? So
I stood up.
So he's going to listen. For the listeners who's just listening right now, Mark is kind of pacing the room, getting himself ready to sit there and give yourself the biggest boom. So, all right, fellas, what we're going to do is I'm going to count to 3, and in a uniform manner, after 3, we're going to say boom as loud as we can. Y'all ready?
Ready.
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Check this out here, right? We just had a fantastic friend to the show because we don't do guests. We only do friends. And listen to the story. You will be inspired by all the things that Jess was mentioning today, about how he's a family man and the things that he wanted. And look, man, he only spends a couple minutes at the job a day and spends the rest of the time with his family. That's absolutely amazing. So make sure that you give him a follow, purchase that book. He's speaking any and everywhere. Make sure that you tune in because he's absolutely great, absolutely amazing. Now, listen here. You know that we always have to give you something to make sure that you can find your freedom. So we have a freedom kit for you. Just go to findyourfreedom.com/freedom kit. Once again, find your freedom, REI.com/freedom kit. Now, we need you to share this. We need you to listen to this episode. I'm pointing my finger here. We need you to listen to this episode, give an honest 5-star review, and share this with your mother, your brother, your sister, your aunt, your uncle, nieces and nephews, all your coworkers, the ones you like and the ones you don't like. Just share it with all of them. With that being said, until the next episode of Find Your Freedom, talk to you soon. Peace.
Thanks for listening to Find Your Freedom. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. While you're at it, please help us spread the word by leaving a rating and review and sharing the podcast with friends, family, and colleagues. Until next time, get out there and find your freedom.